Hey guys, welcome back to DC Extra. My name is Chris. Today we're going to be breaking down the trailer for Blue Beetle. Alright, so as you may or may not know, this movie is going to be coming out in August of this year, and it is supposedly going to be set in the DCU. That being the new universe that the DCEU is transitioning into after the Flash movie. We'll talk a bit more about how canonical it'll be to the DCU a bit later on, but let's take a look at the first clip and then discuss some of the things we see.
Excuse me, Mr. Reyes? You finished scraping the gum off that lounger or what?
Everything right now feels so out of reach.
You always land on your feet, bro.
Alright, so the trailer opens on Jaime Reyes, who's the protagonist of the film, standing in front of a mansion, making it look like his house. But it's quickly revealed that he's just working there with his sister Milagro. The next scene takes us to Palmyra City, where this movie will presumably be set, and this is actually a fictional city in the comics, and is quite new, actually, making its debut only a few months ago in Blue Beetle Graduation Day issue 2. The Cord Industries building is shown from a low angle, making it appear very menacing, but at the same time the bright blue sky and white colour the building is constructed out of has the opposite effect. And I think this could kind of tie into the two people sharing the Cord name, that being Victoria Cord, who will kind of be a side antagonist, I think, as she tries to kind of get back the Scarab, as we will discuss later on, but also Ted Cord, who was Blue Beetle before Jaime Reyes. And also I guess you can tie it to Jenny Cord, who appears to be Jaime's love interest throughout the film, and also an ally to his endeavours as the Blue Beetle. Anyway, let's get into the next clip.
You're Jaime.
They don't get out much.
I just wanna rap.
Jenny?
Guard that with your life, but do not open it.
You went in to get us jobs, and all you brought back was a hamburger?
Here we see Jaime go to Cord Industries, where he eventually runs into Jenny Cord, who, as I mentioned, will be his love interest, and she gives him a box, which she tells him not to open. But, as anyone would, he ends up opening it, and we will see what's inside in just a minute. The box that Jenny handed to Jaime is actually a Big Bally Burger box, and Big Bally Burger is a fictional burger franchise in the DC universe, and you may have seen this in other media such as the Arrowverse or the comics. Anyway, now let's take a look at what's inside that box.
Okay, I don't think it's a burger.
You haven't looked?
What the hell is that?
How did you get it to do that?
I think he likes me.
Jaime.
This ain't what you want. This ain't what you want. This ain't what you want. What the?
Host acquired.
Who said that? Okay, it's gonna be okay! Space.
Re-entry systems ready.
Wait, no! This ain't what you want. This ain't what you want. This ain't what you want. What is going on? I just wanna rock.
It's called the Scarab. It's some kind of world-destroying weapon. It's designed to protect its host.
This ain't what you want.
Sometimes it does what you want, and sometimes it doesn't.
Body out of here.
Upon opening the box, Jaime finds the Blue Beetle Scarab, which he somehow activates by holding, and it then jumps onto his face, and as anyone would, he freaks out along with the rest of his family. We then see the Scarab make its way to Jaime's back and attach itself to his spine, and it then forms a suit around him. The Scarab then flies Jaime into space, and we get to hear the Scarab's voice for the first time.
Space.
Re-entry systems ready.
No! This ain't what you want.
And I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of disappointed when it wasn't the same voice from Young Justice, because I absolutely loved that one, and I'm sure a lot of people did.
This is good. Now kill the impulse so he cannot change his mind.
But I think this one is pretty good also, and it more kind of reminds me of a Siri or Alexa voice, and it kind of makes sense to do this voice because just in today's day and age, it just fits in with all the other kind of AI voices. And I'm not too sure if the movie will adapt this particular point, but in the comics, Jaime Reyes calls his scarab Kajida. Maybe that will carry into this movie, but I don't think it's too crucial that it needs to. Jenny explains what the scarab is from her limited knowledge on it, and we then see Jaime cut a bus in half, but not before the scarab scans to look what's inside of it, making sure no one would get hurt. Which I think is a pretty interesting point, that Jaime's morals, or I'm assuming what's Jaime's morals, gets communicated to the scarab, and it then makes decisions based off that. Either that, or the scarab has its moral compass of its own. Alright, on to the next clip.
I think I cut a bus in half.
The scarab chose you, but it belongs to me.
That love you feel for your family makes you weak.
I just wanna rock. You gon' kill my vibe, stand on my money, don't know my side.
The universe has sent you a gift, and you have to figure out what you're gonna do with it.
That's my high. 1, 2, 3, 4, throw up to 5.
Whatever you can imagine, I can create.
Let's party.
Nice choice.
I just wanna rock.
Victoria Cord, who I mentioned before, believes that the scarab should belong to her. And this is just a guess, but I think Jaime will try to give it to her. But then the scarab will be found to be fused to his spine, and the only way to get it off would be to kill him, which clearly he would protest against. We see a series of fight scenes before we get a glimpse of Blue Beetle's bug, which in the comics is a VTOL craft, which stands for Vertical Takeoff and Landing Craft. In the comics, this was made and used by the second Blue Beetle, Ted Cord, and he actually predates Jaime, so Jaime is the third Blue Beetle in the comics, and I'll discuss this a bit more in a minute. One of my favourite scenes in this trailer is where Jaime uses the scarab to construct a massive sword, which he then uses to fight off some enemies. Alright, onto the final scene.
Whoa, it's like Batman stuff.
Batman's a fascist.
I just wanna rock.
We see Jaime and his family in a lab at what I would assume is Cord Industries, and in it we see two suits in the background. The one on the left looks like Dan Garrett's Blue Beetle suit, and the one on the right being Ted Cord's Blue Beetle suit, both of which are predecessors to the Blue Beetle name before Jaime uses it. Dan Garrett being the first Blue Beetle, and Ted Cord being the second. The trailer then ends with a mention of Batman, where Jaime compares the cool gadgets to those that Batman uses. And his father jokingly calls Batman a fascist, which will be cool to explore the reasons behind this idea throughout the movie, but what is more intriguing to me is what universe this is taking place in. Because the mention of Batman indicates this is one where Batman has been present for multiple years, and we know that this is the case in the DCEU with Ben Affleck's Batman. However, this movie is set to come out after The Flash, and as James Gunn mentioned, it's supposed to be the first movie in the DCU, not to be confused with the DCEU. If you want more information on exactly the difference, I will link you to a video that I made a few months ago relating to James Gunn's announcement, and that should go through it in more detail if you're still a bit unsure on how this all works. Anyway, this mention of Batman would indicate that he has been active for a number of years in this new universe, which does make somewhat sense, because by the time we get the Brave and the Bold movie, Bruce has already had his son Damian Wayne, which is usually quite a bit later in the timeline after Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, and Tim Drake have been Robin. So by the time Damian Wayne comes along, we would assume this is around 10 more years later from when Bruce first became Batman. Anyway, that's it for this trailer. I hope you did enjoy this breakdown, and I hope you are as excited about the movie as I am. If any more trailers come out, I will be breaking them out, but of course, when the movie comes out in its entirety, I will also be breaking that down. But anyway, until next time, this has been Chris, and I'll be seeing you.